Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Freshly Pressed 91. 98.1.
Get quick access to loans from Page Financials. Page Financials, taking you further.
Alive. Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. You're very welcome to today's edition of Freshly Pressed 91. It's the 20th of July 2021. And Eid Mubarak to all our Muslim listeners.
Yes, Eid Mubarak and happy holidays.
Yes, indeed. I'm Ayomira Esse.
My name is Valentine Ohu. You can also send messages through WhatsApp to 0809 We're streaming live on YouTube, so you can watch.
That's right. Our analyst for today, Oji Uka. Morning, Oji. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
We also have Oade Ahimie. Morning, Oade. How are you today?
I'm fine. Good morning, Oji. Good morning, Valentine.
Good
morning,
morning.
Ayo.
Excellent.
Great to
You
be here.
are the real MVP. Thank you for coming on a day like this. Usually, when Lakumi calls some people today, they just switch off their phone. After they look at the screen, turn the other way on
Sounds
their
like a
bed,
shake.
and no, none of our analysts are like that.
So
They're
I came
super
today
calm.
because I want to give an open offer
Yeah.
for someone to invite me for.
To come and eat the ram, Abi.
I thought this was the best place to do it. That's why I came.
You have done well. You have done very well. All right, let's go through our stories for today.
All right, let's start with this one on Eid. It's actually instructive to note that today's Eid al-Kabir. The President, Muhammadu Buhari, has greeted Muslims, gives reasons for food hike. He said that what led to food inflation really is COVID and the floods and some other reasons that he gave. But what are your thoughts on this, Wadi?
Well, good news first and foremost that he said he's wished our Muslim brothers a happy Eid Mubarak. For me, when I look at this story, yes, COVID, yes, floods. However, some of the other major things were not discussed until towards the end of the statement when he spoke about insecurity. When he spoke about insecurity, it's celebration time, and also we should also remember that prices of things during this period usually go up because in terms of the demands and also the level of demand against the level of supply is usually not comparable. So things are a little bit higher, but I beckon on the traders to remember that this is a period of reflection. And
So they should reduce the price of meat.
well, like you said, they should not try and exploit the profitability of their prices and sell things at outrageous prices. But like we all know, the other thing is that Nigerians are also like to wait till the last minute, and this is really some of the other things that bring about the high prices. But once again, I wish all my Muslim brothers and all Nigerians a happy Eid Mubarak and a happy holiday over the next couple of days.
That's right.
I have a question though. Are you satisfied with this explanation? And we've had a food inflation, food crisis, as many people have described it, for a number of months. Are you? And he's coming out just now to give a statement on this. Is this justified? Are the hands of the government tied, or is there something that they can do about it?
Ayo, okay, so like reading through this story, one of the things he says is flood. COVID-19, yes, we're fine with that. But the floods have just started maybe 2-3 months ago. But we've had a major food issue over the last 6 to 8 months. Prices have just been going up.
Yeah.
And it's not because of the floods. It's because of the level of insecurity, the level of, what's it called, criminals who are terrorizing farmers and so on and so forth. So even that alone has reduced the ability of farmers to actually plant and be able to meet the demands of the food requirements that we have in Nigeria. So is it a tenable excuse? That's the first thing I said. When you start with flood, really, you are coming back to tell us, after 9 months of food price hike, then it's the flood that is causing it that started a couple of months ago. So is it tenable?
I guess the newsy parts of this is just the greeting
Exactly.
and the message, really.
Well, he's just trying to be positive.
I know, no. We can hear him struggling to,
Just allow him.
he was
It's a holiday.
grasping at the straws of positivity there.
MI from Harcourt says the president is basically telling us that water is wet. The meat of his statement is just the acknowledgement of the obvious. Food inflation is driven primarily these days by insecurity. That's the elephant in the room. Happy Eid to our Muslim brothers and sisters.
Thank you for identifying the elephants, MI. The next story from the Punch newspaper: representatives approve card reader bars INEC from using other devices. More facts emerged, and that part, that phrase, more facts emerged. It's quite. I mean, something we should underscore, because I was just having a conversation with Ayo while we were researching the stories, that why is it so shrouded in so much secrecy? Like this electoral act being passed by the House of Representatives, every day seems like we're uncovering some new aspect of it. Does it express the ambiguity of the act itself, or is there a deliberate attempt to, hide some details, essential details from the public? What, Oji?
Governance in Nigeria, as we've come to know, is like rocket science. It should not be so. When the National Assembly is an arm of the government, they are exercising legislative powers on behalf of Nigerians. There should be nothing secret about it. It's not a secret court. When they have these bills, these bills are supposed to be made public. Nigerians are supposed to attend public hearings, but you see what happens is they advertise these public hearings maybe a day or two before, making it almost impossible for Nigerians to take part in the process. Even after they pass these laws or these bills, it still takes a lot. I've once had need to look for a bill passed by the National Assembly. It had been passed, so there was nothing I could do other than just get a copy of it. But even those who were in the National Assembly were telling me that, because I reached out to one of my representatives, and the person said, for a member to get the bill that they've passed, sometimes you may have to give money to someone in. I'm not joking. That's what I was told. So it took me months before I could get it. So to answer your question, that secrecy, it's just the way we do things in Nigeria. And unfortunately, we've come to accept it as so, but it should not be. For this story, this is actually a very interesting story to analyze, because it speaks to the minds of our lawmakers and how the inner workings of the National Assembly is. So there's an argument here between the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker, right? There was a provision of the electoral bill that they recently passed that says that where a smart card reader or any other technological device deployed for accreditation of voters fails to function in any unit, and a fresh card reader or technical device is not deployed, the election in that unit shall be cancelled and another election held in 24 hours, blah, blah, blah. During the arguments, the deputy speaker presided, okay? So the speaker was just sitting as an honorary member of the House, if I could put it that way. And he then makes an interesting argument that they should remove the phrase or any other technical device from the clause. According to him, is because they want the act to be watertight and devoid of manipulation.
Yes.
That the word is too ambiguous, it could mean anything.
Because
I
other
don't agree with
electronic
him.
devices can be misinterpreted to mean anything.
Unfortunately, I don't agree with him, and I'll say why. I'm inclined to agree with what the Deputy Speaker, who, like I say, who presided, said. He says, although some of these arguments I don't agree with, but the key thing he says here is that the provision will allow the law to capture technological advancement that might come in future. So you see, law is couched deliberately in general terms. So you cover future. So today, right now, what we use are smart card readers. But in 2 years' time, there may be a more advanced technological device that is manufactured that makes it faster and easier for you to capture the details of the voters. But what happens is, by the time you simply say card reader and remove that technological device, in 2 years' time, if that device comes in, you have to amend the act again. So the Deputy Speaker simply said, allow that phrase, and the Speaker, who is a senior lawyer, who should know that law is couched in general terms, is supposed to know better. I'm saying that I'm saying that without being immodest, but it is, the Deputy Speaker was right here, but unfortunately he was overruled. One last point to make of this is we have rules of interpretation of statutes, which is why I thought the Speaker should know. One example of it is what we call the jus dem generis rule, that says when interpreting a phrase, you interpret some that are alike. I give two examples, so I just drive home the point. If you say, I the drinking of Milo, or no, that it is forbidden for you to bring in Milo, milk and sugar into this place,
Yes.
and other products.
Yes.
In interpreting that other products, it must be something that flows along with Milo, milk and sugar.
In the same category.
That is what it means and nothing more.
Yes.
So the speaker should have known that where the technological devices and other technical devices could not have meant anything other than what is similar to a card reader.
Yes. Or falls under the category, or can be categorized as an electronic device.
That is not just an electronic device, one that can be used for the purpose of a card reader. That is what the speaker should have known, and that is why I'm again surprised that he is the one that made this argument and resulted in them removing that phrase from the law.
Yeah.
What it means, like I said earlier, in 2 years' time, if something else comes in, they may have to amend the act again, which is not necessary.
And that costing us the tax.
Of course, we have to go back to another process of amendment again.
All right. Thank you very much, Orji, for breaking that down for us. Now let's go on to taxes, shall we? While the Lagos State government sealed 16 firms over tax evasion, the LIRS, as Lagos State Internal Revenue Service Director of Legal Services, Mr. Sheyi Alade, said during the statewide enforcement of shutting down firms who had over unpaid consumption taxes had resolved to wield the stick on defaulters who insist on shortchanging the state government. Interestingly, many of these organizations are in the hospitality sector of the industry. Maybe perhaps what came to mind was, why is it that they are notorious in this case for not remitting? He said that they didn't meet up to the March 31 deadline, and they covered from 2013 to 2020, as far back as 7 years ago, 8 years ago, some hadn't paid. So please take us to the story.
Okay, so first and foremost, the taxes that come to the state are taxes that are not federal in nature.
Yeah.
So payee, consumption tax, once it's a company that withholding taxes for individuals. So let's make that clear. Because the state is where the businesses are resident, so the first thing is all consumption tax come to the state because it's part of the state taxes. Now, one of the things you will notice for anywhere you go, any restaurant you go, and they give you a bill, you would see it there. There is a consumption tax. It's about 10%. Am I right, Oji? Thereabouts.
It's about, I'll check.
Thereabouts. I'm not sure of the exact figure. And it's part of the things that are meant to be remitted to the state government. But you find out that a lot of these places don't do that for reasons best known to them. So what Lagos State is doing now is ensuring that these defaulters are being singled out and ensuring that these payments are made and they receive money. I guess it's one of the reasons will be the continued decline in revenue generation in most of the states because of COVID. So it's the law. We need to pay our taxes, and if you have outstanding taxes, then you must pay them. Otherwise, the state has the right to do as they've done. It's the one thing even in the story that I see, it's the electronic platform that the Lagos State tax authority is talking about, which is called Ibile, trying to profile and bring more and more people into the tax system or the tax bracket in Nigeria. In as much as I think a lot of, especially in the informal sector, taxes are not being received from individuals who are making money. I think this is a good idea, but we should have a better idea of how this will work and how it's working, so that more people would be able to understand how to get into that tax coverage. And the other thing is, for me, will be what are the benefits that are going to come out for the individuals who are not in the organized sector, towards ensuring that they are even happy to pay these taxes, because tax without benefits, really,
Yeah.
Is
All
what
right.
the
So,
issue is.
okay.
Unless it's been reviewed in the last 4 years, the consumption tax has been at 5%.
Okay, it's 5%.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, thank you for mentioning
Thank you.
that responsibility of the government where they demand tax. So they're saying they want to broaden the tax net by ensuring that they capture as many people as possible. The only thing I would talk about with regards to these kind of businesses is where we talk about double taxation. So in Lagos State, you find that a number of them are taxed. You hear of small businesses complaining about the number of levies and taxes that they have to pay and how it is detrimental to their survival. Does this in any way play a role in why some of them have defaulted? Because it's easy to say that, oh, they're bad citizens, they are deducting money from source, from consumers, but not remitting.
Okay, so there's some um, levies that are charged by the local governments. So
Yes.
for you to even be in the business,
Yes.
you need to pay some local
Signage, all
government
that, yeah.
signage and things like
Radio
that.
license, all
Yeah.
these things.
But the consumption tax itself is for tax paid for consuming items within those premises,
Yes.
those outlets.
Yeah.
And it's a state government tax.
Okay.
And there's VAT too.
And I agree that it's a good, that it is.
Yeah,
very-
but so
it's-
the VAT is for value added.
Added tax.
So there are so many taxes that we're paying, and those people are paying. Is it
That's
what's
what
it called?
I'm
But
asking.
the state has the right to put taxes on what it
Why
thinks.
do you are Mr. Even because today's a holiday, let's go on a break.
okay.
When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. This is Smooth 98.1.
I mean,
Yeah, on the government side today,
Why
Wade.
being so careful?
huh?
Why being so careful? Very guarded. No, it's not tiredness.
No, but I'm tired really, and I
The
have so many
taxes are
things in
too
mind.
businesses are complaining. Yeah, how many?
No, ease of doing business.
Yeah,
The environment
exactly.
is not
Thank
conducive
you.
for businesses.
Let's harmonize taxes.
Harmonization of taxes.
Why are you
is-
taxing?
Okay, we're coming back.
But
We're
you
coming
see-
back. We're coming back now.
and you're tuned into Smooth 98.1.
Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life.
Yes, and you're listening to Ayomaro Essay
And Valentine Ohu.
with our special analyst Oji Oka and Wade Ahime here in the studio. Let's go to the next story now. This one, this time around, Oji, let's talk about court stopping the Zamfara House of Assembly from impeaching the Deputy Governor, Mahdi Gusau. If you recall, the governor of the state defected to APC
Correct.
from PDP. Is this an indication, or rather, could this be the reason why they are, having a go at each other?
Yes.
Deputy and the governor.
Yes.
Like a simple answer, but please analyze the story.
So the things that that have happened in this republic, that would be between 2015 and now, as such that I've said it before, it makes it difficult for a lawyer to give legal advice because you don't know what will happen again or what the courts will say. I have an issue with the three arms of government involved here: executive, legislature, and the judiciary. So before now, the law has always been clear that the courts, the judicial arm of government, they have no powers to restrain the legislature from carrying out their constitutional duty. So generally, you would not see a court grant an ex parte order or an injunction at all to restrain the National Assembly or the House of Assembly of a state. But that used to be before. For no reason, that has since changed. Particularly for impeachment, the law again has always been that the courts are prohibited. So I had always said earlier that the courts have no powers generally to restrain an act of by the legislature. Specifically on the issue of impeachment, the law has always been clear also that the courts have no jurisdiction to venture into that area. And sometimes it changed under the Obasanjo administration when Ladoja was impeached, and then the Supreme Court in a case in Akujo and Adeleke then said where a governor is wrongly impeached or a deputy governor is wrongly impeached, the court can then come in because the procedure for impeachment has not been followed.
Right.
Not that you would start from the first day to grant injunction or to stop the National Assembly, but that's a way. That's for me just to introduce it. But what I should also mention is, in reading this story, I don't think the court actually granted an injunction. So what normally happens if you bring an ex parte application, ex parte means only one side will be heard. The other side is not there because there's an urgent situation at hand. The court will either grant it or won't grant it, but will say parties should maintain status quo. In other words, don't do anything until I hear from both of you. Paragraph 1 of this story says the court granted and restrained the House of Assembly from impeaching the deputy governor. Paragraph 2 says the court ordered them to maintain status quo. Typically, the courts don't do those two. It's one or the other. So what I would suggest in reading this story is that the court did not, in fact, make an order stopping them from doing it. But what the court rather did was to grant an order to say, two of you maintain, don't fight.
Yes.
That's what I think the courts have done. But if the story, if it's actually that the court actually granted the order, I'll be surprised. That said, what is the reason for this? As you mentioned, the governor defected, his deputy refused. And then what does the National Assembly, the House of Assembly in the state do? They then threaten to impeach the deputy governor for activities that constitute a threat to the security in the state.
Which is?
He did not defect
exactly.
to APC. So that's why I said I have an issue with the three arms of
I mean,
government
it's
here.
the same language that's
did
that's
not
used to
defect.
sometimes to victimize certain members of the press. It's still applied to the deputy governor in this case.
There is demonstrable evidence that the Nigerian political class does not believe in constitutional democracy. I don't think it's for us. But for now, we've not found a better system of government, so we just keep managing it and managing them.
Interesting. Thank you very much. And that's last statement, very powerful. Something we want to think about. It's been said a number of times that in terms of our democracy and how we handle it. Let's move on to our next story. Wadi. Kara Long Bridge gridlock. Lagos Commissioner of Police deploys personnel to clear traffic. New Telegraph. So if you were on the road yesterday, you might have spotted the Commissioner of Police, Hakeem Odumosu, personally visiting and monitoring the clearing of obstructions responsible for the heavy gridlock along the stretch of the expressway. A number of people who ply that road would testify to the, how horrendous it could be. But please take us through this place. He said that he's done this. I guess the question for you, Wadi, as you review this story is this a permanent solution? We've heard of clearing a number of times and they're back again.
So I don't think it's a permanent solution. It's temporary, but what I think both states, that's Ogun and Oyo State, should do is ensure that there is presence of monitoring on that bridge. It's ridiculous where you have to spend 5 hours to get to Ibadan, because and it's not that the 5 hours is spent on the whole journey. 3 to 4 hours of that journey is spent between Lagos and Ogun State. So it's amazing that the expressway, I know that there are some reconstructions going on.
Yeah.
However, these days it's just impossible. The number of trades on the road, the number of trucks that are parked on one side of the road, and this is a road that is being fixed. So between the redemption camp and getting into Lagos, you could spend 2 to 3 hours, and it's ridiculous. And it causes a lot of criminal activities on that bridge. We've heard of people being attacked and so on and so forth. So this is a welcome start, but I think both commissioners for police in Lagos and Ogun State should sit down and work out continuous monitoring of that stretch of road, and ensure that traffic can flow. Even those who just stay just outside Lagos, some of them spend 2-3 hours getting home.
I think you're putting it mildly. I think 2-3 hours is on a good day. 4 hours.
Whether he's in a good mood today,
He's in a
please
good
don't
mood.
change
2-3
this.
hours is putting it mildly.
My sister-in-law went to Ibadan on Saturday. She left home at 7. She got to Ibadan at 1:30 p.m.
Exactly. That's a more realistic.
And
5 hours, 4 hours.
She spent 4.5 hours getting out of Lagos. Or for 5 hours getting out of Lagos for a 1 hour journey. It's ridiculous.
All right. Thank you very much. Princess, CP did that because he was going to Ibadan to get a chieftaincy title. It's just a selfish move. Maybe they should give them more chieftaincy titles. If it will make them ply that road, then and stop traffic, that would be great.
That was a joke on a Tuesday morning. Well, let's move on to this next story. Oji, I would like your thoughts on this story. The headline doesn't quite capture the essence of the story, in the sense that Premium Times, put it as bandits shoot down Nigerian Air Force, but that's not the entire story. I think the essence of the story, to most people, is the fact that the Nigerian Air Force, first of all, the flight captain or the lieutenant survived that crash. He ejected in time. He was able to evade the bandits that shot down the plane and found his way to a Nigerian Army unit. But please take us through this story, as especially highlighting the response of the Nigerian Army, the timely response, I would say. Oji.
Well, I won't spend too much time on this story because I want to talk about the next one. It's a good thing that the pilot survived. I think we should mention his name.
Yeah.
He did a good thing. Flight
Yes, please.
Lieutenant Abayomi Dairo. Like you mentioned already, using his survival instinct. This is from the Air Commodore, the Director of Public Relations and Information for the Nigerian Air Force. Using his survival instinct, the pilot who came under intense ground fire from the bandits was able to evade them and sought refuge in nearby settlements awaiting sunset. And then using the cover of darkness and his phone set for navigation, he was able to elude several bandit strongholds and maneuvered his way to the Nigerian Army units. I think he should be commended, so that others would also be encouraged to give their best for the country. That said, you must also ask yourself why the first instinct from the Nigerian Air Force was to deny the story. I don't know why denial has become a government policy. You see, it's possible for you to come out when something happens to say, I don't have all the information, I'm investigating, I'll come back to you.
Exactly.
Why do you always say, no, it never happened?
Before you know,
Only then the next day, you now say, well, it happened. It doesn't help. So our government relations officers, our government spokespersons should do more for, because those deniers, they don't help the morale of the officers, because sometimes they deny and they insist on that denial. And if someone has died, he's died like that. In this case, someone survived, so it's a good thing. But government is based on trust. And the citizens, when they hear from our government, they should take it hook, line, and sinker. But when you give conflicting information like this, it becomes a problem. But like you said, it's a good thing he was rescued, and he should be commended. He should be commended.
It should be. And just going by what you said, I think it's important for us to realize that it's okay to say you don't know.
It's a good thing to say.
It's better to say you
I
don't know
don't.
than to say
I'm investigating.
a blatant no and then come back to retract what you said, and
Like, I think quotable quote from Oji today is, denial has become the government's policy. All right, let's move on to our next story. The DSS, that's the Department of State Services, has stopped Nnamdi Kanu, detained leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, from signing a consular assistance form by the United Kingdom. Now, don't forget that Nnamdi Kanu, who was born on September 25, 1967, is a holder of both the Nigerian and British passport.
Okay, so I don't know why, but I know about, just not shortly after he was brought back into Nigeria, the British High Commission had said that they would render necessary assistance in terms of him being a British citizen. But I don't know why the DSS has refused that. But when you hear the statements of Kanu's lawyer, what he says is he believes that it's not the investigative investigation department of the DSS, but the legal department that is blocking this. Until they tell us the reasons why, it's difficult to ascertain why this has been done. Really, for me, but I'm always being careful about talking about this story, so I'll leave it at that. I don't know why the DSS has refused. Maybe the legal team would come out soon and tell us. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask Oji, what do you think?
Well, I don't know.
Because
his lawyers
has
reasons
yeah.
why.
But by law, can they refuse him access to consular services?
Anybody can do anything.
Anybody can do anything.
No, to be honest, the answer is no.
No.
But they've not given their reasons enough. When government officials don't give reason, your only option is to get an order of court to compel them. We call it mandamus, to compel you to carry out your duty, because that's what they ought to do. But I'm sure with time they will explain why they are doing what they're doing.
All right, thank you. We have Cruising with F4 on YouTube.
Yes, he said, I think the real comment about the Air Force story is how bandits acquired enough firepower to bring down a fighter jet. This is a potential danger for passenger jets. Femi from VI, thank you so much for hitting the nail on the head. Really, that's a major threat. But I thought to, not sidestep that point for the regulators. We'll keep moving.
All right, thank you very much. Unfortunately, that's all we can take. We have just one more story, which is Amnesty International opposing death penalty in Nigeria's constitution, from the Guardian newspaper. Did you want to say just one statement on that story?
I don't agree with them. It is not news. Amnesty International has always opposed death penalty. But for me, my answer would have been a nuanced one. abolishing it is not the answer. Also, you can say reform the justice system. There are people who are deserving of the death penalty.
Yeah.
I can't
Yes.
believe you just said that.
No, they are.
That's-
They are.
There are.
The concern is clear. So if
Who,
you
example?
there are offences that have the capital punishment as the punishment.
Punishment.
Murder, not manslaughter. Murder. So if it's intentional killing of another person, you deserve.
Premeditated.
Yeah, that's what the law says.
Yes.
That's
Kidnapping right now is a capital offense. There are a number of them. Those who you rape someone, you rape a 10-year-old child, the person dies, and you tell me you guys stay.
okay.
life
So that's a
imprisonment.
big one for
It's a
debate.
nuance. That's why I said I really wish I had more time to talk about it.
Maybe you can stay back for a few minutes since it's a holiday. Let me hold you down for Lagos
Lagos
Talks 901
Talks.
because that's a big debate. Some people have different, obviously based from different school of thoughts and background. So it'd be good to hear what people say have to say about the death penalty and if it should be abolished or continued.
We're talking
This-
9 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, in 9 minutes. Stay tuned.
Access to loans from Page Financial.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Interesting. I'm not,
Taking you
I'm not for the